So this is a little over 7 pounds, just a tad over 500 pieces. And this is the new case feeder for the EP 2.0 annealer. So why have a hopper when you can have a case feeder? And this is fully adjustable from 300 blackout to 338 LAPUA, and we'll adjust in seconds without tools. Let's get this going. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to get this set up. I'm going to take you all the way through these 300 blackout. Right now, 223 is running, 308, 3030 with a rim, 7mm, and also 338 LAPUA where it maxes out. And this, like I said, will adjust in seconds. You don't need to add or remove any parts, and you don't need tools to get this adjusted. Now the EP 2.0 annealer in itself, without the case feeder, can adjust from 5.7 by 28 to 50 BMG. And rim or no rim, it doesn't matter, like this 30, it can do it. As for the drop tube and the case feeder kit add-on, that can adjust from 300 blackout to 338 LAPUA. And it doesn't matter if it has a rim or no rim. I'm about to show that to you here in a little bit. Once again, why have a hopper when you can have a case feeder? Well, I know some of you guys have been waiting for this for some time now, and that is getting the EP 2.0 annealer automated. You know, besides the fact that the EP 2.0 annealer is amazing in itself, the fact that you can adjust from 5.7 by 28 all the way up to 50 BMG, rim or no rim, it doesn't matter, without any tools, and you don't have to add or remove any parts, makes the EP 2.0 annealer amazing in itself. But finally, we are adding the case feeder add-on kit, where you can add a Dillon case feeder to automate the process, which makes it even more spectacular. And this add-on kit will give you the ability to adjust literally in seconds without any tools, to adjust from 300 blackout to 338 LAPUA. And trust me when I say this is absolutely amazing. So to make a couple points here that's really important, you have to pay close attention to this if you're considering getting this add-on case feeder kit. If you happen to have the original case or you initially came out with on the EP 2.0 annealer that does not have the extended legs here in the front, this kit will not work. We did not design it for this. About 2 years ago, we came out with an updated case with anticipation of adding some type of case feeder to this, and you'll notice at least on the updated cases that has these extended feet. If you have the extended feet like this, this kit will work for you. Leading up to this point, all of our cases are not pre-drilled for the upright tube, which I'm showing here in a little bit, but not to worry. If you buy this case feeder kit by itself, it will come with a jig to specifically show you where to drill the holes here and the specific size drill bit, and as part of the kit. But if you do purchase an annealer with the add-on kit, our cases moving forward will have the holes already pre-drilled for you. Now, I said this from the beginning of the EP 2.0 annealer. Why have a hopper where you have to physically pick up each individual piece, orientate that and put it in a hopper, or have a single feed fence? And that's the reason why we kept the single feed fence. Besides the fact that the EP 2.0 annealer shines, the fact you don't have to add or remove any parts, you can go from 5.7 to 50 BMG, rim or no rim, without having to add or remove any parts. And if we're gonna do anything, I don't want a hopper, I want a case feeder. So just to reiterate this, I can't stress this enough, this is absolutely crucial for this system to work. These holes have to be perfectly located for this upright tube. Going forward, our new cases will have the holes already pre-drilled, but if you happen to have this style case that has no holes, like I said, don't worry. We're going to give you this drill jig here that clips on the side and the corresponding drill bit to make sure that these holes are absolutely perfect. It is so, so important if you want this to work properly. Now, regardless if your case has the pre-drilled holes or not, you still need to mount this upright tube, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit. So in order to get that accomplished, you need to remove these 4 total screws. And either you can use a hex style drill bit like this or a standard slot style screwdriver. So if it doesn't have the holes, just clip this on the side, make sure it's nice and tight, firmly in place, and drill your 2 holes. Now that your 2 holes are drilled, the kit comes with this 1" by 1" upright tube, 2 screws, and an Allen wrench to get this mounted. Now just check out our website. It'll show the accurate parts that's going to be shipped with this kit. That'll show up at your front doorstep. I'm actually shooting this before it's being sold on the website, so some of these parts might change, like this tube holding up the feeder. This is our prototype tube. Most likely it's going to be something like this 3D printed tube here. Other things like this thumb screw here, rather than using the screw off of our Annealer, it will most likely be a matching black thumb screw for the shuttle itself. But just check out our website. The pictures on there should be accurate. It will actually be shipped. All right, so this is a pretty simple process. You're just going to use the screws here. There is no washers. So just make sure these are nice and snug, but you definitely don't want to overdo this. Don't use this side for the torque. Use the short side, and just to the point where it kind of hurts your finger. At that point, you can just stop. So make sure you don't strip out that aluminum. And the screw holes are on the exact same location on both sides. They're drilled all the way through, so you cannot get this wrong. Before I take this apart and put it all back together, there's a reason why I want to show you this. Is the location of this tube and the holes drilled in the case is absolutely crucial in regards to how this works and the location of this chute in relationship to our fence. I can't stress that enough. You got to make sure that these holes are absolutely perfect. Now, at least with our kit, it will come with this adjustable chute. This will adjust from 300 blackout to 338 LAPUA, and will adjust in seconds without any tools. This is the optical sensor. You can see it has a laser showing you exactly where it's pointing, and the relay switch. This wire harness that comes with the kit automatically has the male plug that plugs into the Dillon case feeder, and also the female plug where you're plugging in the supplied power supply from the Dillon case feeder itself. So you're reusing the power supply that comes with the case feeder. So let me get this torn apart and we'll put it all back together so I can show you how to get this installed. It's really easy. Now this tube here just pulls right out of the case feeder itself. I'll set this off to the side. Now, there's a reason why we got this mounted to the EP Annealer itself. Is it makes it really convenient. So you can literally just pull this right off the Annealer. That way you can add your Dillon case feeder from your loading press and put it onto your Annealer and take it back off your Annealer, back on your loading press, or you can just have a dedicated case feeder for your Annealer in itself. So let's get this all removed. And on the back of our 3D printed bracket, it actually comes with this little Allen wrench right here. And that is literally it. You can see that the kit comes with a 3D printed bracket. There's elongated slots here for adjustment up and down. There's also elongated slots here for the sensor, so you can turn this left and right for adjustment. And the kit will come with the relay switch already screwed to the main 3D bracket, and the wire harness is completely done. Now these 2 screws here, you can notice that they have washers on it. Just make sure that these screws have washers on it. Just the screws on the inside of the case mounting the tube to the case itself does not have washers. Just these have washers. Okay, so at this point, what I would do is plug in your power supply to start up the sensor. You can see there's actually a red laser here. And what you want to do is just adjust this up or down. You can see that this has quite a bit of adjustment on it. And what I personally like to do is get it so the sensor is just off of the fence. So when I adjust this up, you can see it's riding the fence right now. When I adjust this up, about right there, so usually what I'll do is I'll get a piece of 223 brass and get it so the red sensor is just in front of the drum, and that the red sensor is centrally located on the body of the 223 brass. And then that's where I'll tighten this up. And just make sure that you're tightening this with the short end, not the long end. You just make sure you don't strip out these screws. Now at this point, you need to adjust the sensor. Just get a small head Phillips screwdriver, and this is where you want to adjust it left to right. So this adjusts it up and down. This is where it will give you the adjustment from left to right. So I'm going to untighten this one here just a little bit. And then this one is the one that has the elongated slot. So you can see this gives you a tremendous amount of adjustment left and right. So right about there, you can see that the sensor is just in front of the drum. So you want it so when there is no piece of brass, that the sensor is actually off the drum completely. And you can notice that the sensor is picking that up between having a piece of brass and not. And what that is doing is when it senses a piece of brass, it is telling the sensor, I do not need to supply power to the case feeder. But when it doesn't sense any brass, it's saying, hey, I need to pass that power through the case feeder to get another piece of brass. It really is that simple. Now, once you have the adjustment up and down squared away, the left to right squared away, just tighten down all your screws. And this is already set. You can notice when I remove this, it doesn't detect. It's allowing the power to flow through. You can actually see the light on the relay switch come on. This is no power going through, power going through. No power going through the feeder, power going through. So you can see that relay switch going on and off. This should be remotely close for your sensor in regards to the sensing distance. And if you have to adjust this, you can screw this in and out. So you don't want to over exaggerate this. You can notice right now that it's allowing the power to go through. The light is coming on the relay switch. When I turn this right, there, you can notice that the power goes off, but when I remove this, you can see it's allowing the power to go through and not through. So you might have to adjust that ever so slightly when you're setting up your kit for the first time. Once it's all set up, you can set it and forget it. And it is seriously that easy. So there's actually a little spot here on the 3D printed bracket where you can put your Allen wrench if you need it in the future. And you just literally slide the Dillon case feeder over. There's a male plug here that plugs into the feeder itself. And that's it. It's literally that easy. Also in the kit comes this shuttle. It's a two-piece system. There's an upper and lower part. They just slide together, and there is a thumb screw here. I can't stress this enough. Do not over tighten this. The smallest amount of pressure just to hold these two pieces together, that's it. Remember, this is 3D printed. This isn't metal. You can strip this out if you overdo this. There's a reason why we put two screw holes here. Just in case if you happen to strip this one out, you got to back up. But let that lesson be learned. And you'll notice at the top of the shuttle, there is a little bit of a lip that fits in this gap. And just kind of give you what this shuttle looks like. And you just literally just snap this right in place. It's literally toolless. It's really nice. But there is a nice, firm, snug feeling to this spring up here. And your adjustments are left to right and then up and down. As simple as that. Now in this example, I'm using 223. I'm not going to specifically show you how to set up the EP2 annealer. We have videos on EP integrations that show you how to do that. This needs to be set up first before you set up the case feeder and the drop shuttle. So you can see approximately about 1/4 inch of the body of the brass is sticking out before the shoulder starts there, just to give you an idea of how much of that brass is sticking out past the face of the drum. So at least starting out with 223 here, and for those that are not familiar with the EP2 annealer, there's three main parts that adjust. This is the brass stopper that will go in and out, and this is the shim plate that will screw in and out depending on the depth of your casing, and this is also the adjustable fence, which will slide back and forth. I'm not going to go over that in full detail. This is more on the case feeder itself. Now starting out, we're starting with 223 and 300 blackout. They both use the small rifle plate. I do have the large rifle plate here. I'm going to show that to you a little bit once we get up to the 308 and above casings. But make sure that you're following the instructions that come with your Dillon case feeder. This is designed only for the Dillon case feeder, but it does not come with the Dillon case feeder. It comes with everything else you need. the tube to get this mounted to the EP20 annealer, the sensor bracket with the relay switch and the sensor, and the drop tube or shuttle, we like to call it. I can't stress this enough. Make sure you're reading the instructions that come with the Dillon case feeder. If you're new to this, fully understand how to use the Dillon case feeder before you jump into this head first. In here are specific instructions depending on the size of the casing you're trying to feed to the case feeder of what window setting you need to adjust this at least on this page. There's also really important instructions here of how to set up the clutch for this plate that's inside the case feeder so you don't burn out your motor in case you get a piece of brass that's stuck in your case feeder. I can't stress that enough. Make sure you're reading those instructions before you proceed. So right now I have the annealer turned off. I have this is turned on, and right now it's sensing the brass. It's not letting the power flow through. It's green. You can see there's no light on the relay switch. Now, at least to get this set up, at least for 223 and lower, and this is important to remember this, if I actually clip this out, there is a 90-degree corner. We put that 90-degree corner on there for a reason, as a natural face shelf to keep smaller cases like 223 and under, like 223 and 300 blackout. You'll notice when I clip this in to place, it creates like a natural face shelf so this cannot push out. And that's strictly there for smaller cases. When it gets up to larger cases like 308 and higher, it's really not needed. And I'm going to see that here in a little bit. But let's get this turned on. And right now I got this set up for the correct throat depth according to my instructions here. So make sure you're checking that out. The small rifle plate, at least for 223. Now this is really important. I can't stress this enough. Usually 223 is going to be annealed roughly around the 5 or 6 seconds. We use the glow method. We have, videos on our epintegrations YouTube channel that show you how to set this up using the glow method. But roughly about 5 seconds. It's roughly going to be about in the 30 range, mid 30 range on the annealer itself. You need to set the speed on the case feeder at roughly the 9 o'clock position. Maybe a little bit more, but not much. It's pretty much pointing at this little hole in the acrylic glass. At least for 223 and 300 blackout in smaller cases, I can't stress this enough, this needs to be set up at the 9 o'clock position. When you move on to larger cases like 308 and larger, then you're going to speed this up ever so slightly to the 10 o'clock mark. And that's pretty much it. You can see when I speed that up, it really drops quick. And you don't want that for smaller cases. And this is something that you're going to have to play around with. And once you understand the methods of the madness, trust me, this goes smooth as butter. And it makes it really, really slick. All right, so let's get this switched over to 300 blackout. Now, when it comes time to switch over to a different casing or just simply transfer your Dillon case feeder to your press for a different function, to empty this, I'm telling you, it is really this easy. Just unplug this male plug out of the case feeder, and this literally just pulls right off. And just hold the shell plate inside the case feeder, and you can just and then just put it right back on. And it is that quick, that slick, and that simple. All right, so let's get this set up for 300 blackout. So I'm gonna pop this out, just set this off to the side, spin this drum out just a little bit. Firstly, what I like to do is, once again, I use the 1/4 inch rule. So 1/4 inch of the main body to where the shoulder starts to stick out past the face of the drum. So I'm going to pull out my brass stopper. Once again, the EP 2-point annealer, where you don't need to add or remove any parts, and that's what makes this super special. So right about there should be good. And get the brass stopper, and I'm going to let this spin around and set this at about 36. And I usually let this spin around so the opening exposes the shim plate of the adjustable fence. I'll adjust the fence so the back of the fence is just in front of the shim plate. So for those I've never seen this before, so probably something like that. And just like that, we went from 223 to 300 blackout. So And that would probably anneal around the 36-ish range probably. So if you were to single feed this, just to kind of give you an idea, at least for 300 blackout. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually drop at the top here a piece, and it should be really close because it's, you know, coming out of a 223 casing. It's pretty much sticking out the exact same amount. I might lower this down just ever so slightly so that 90-degree corner of the shuttle almost touches the face of the brass. So I'm going to manually test this again, and I'm going to test it again and test it again manually. Now we have the annealer set up, the shuttle set up. I have the small rifle plate in here. If you check out forums, at least with 300 blackout, it can be a little finicky with case feeders. There's numerous ways to use different plates and washers. At least for me, I like to use just a simple 300, the small rifle plate for 300 blackout. And you can actually adjust this part up and down too. So if it's a smaller casing, you obviously want to adjust this down. If it's a larger casing, you want to adjust this up. But I have the small rifle plate in there. I got my large rifle plate over there. The only thing I need to do is slide this throat plate over. And right now I have this set at least on the number 2 slot. At least for 300 blackout, I'll adjust this over. I might have to pause this because I need both use of my hands. I actually will adjust this clean over. So let me pause this for a hot second. Now, at least for 300 blackout, and everyone's got their different way of doing 300 blackout, but at least for me, I like to have mine clean off even the first slot. I actually bring it off. I wish they actually had more slots here in the Dillon case feeder, but they don't. But what I do is I'll have that off at roughly about 1/8 of an inch past the first slot there, and I'll really tighten this down, and that's about it. It is really that simple. And once again, I'll have this set at the 9 o'clock position. So this arrow is pointing right at that hole. Maybe ever so slightly past, but it's pretty much right at 9 o'clock. And we should be good to go. I'm going to turn this on. And this is why you need to have this pointing at this specific spot, because it really doesn't matter how long the casing is. If it's 300 blackout or 338 LAPUA, it's always going to hit that spot regardless. So let's get this dumped in at the top here. And we'll turn this on. The second it doesn't sense this, it's going to let the power flow through. And it'll take a little bit for this to start dropping brass. But here comes the first one. Just like that, it really is that simple. I mean, tell me how cool is that? And this will automatically orientate it the correct way. You can see that one went rear end first. This one's going to go case mouth first. You can see it will go past and then drop the correct way. So this one, let me purposely flip this one over. So this one is rear end first, will drop first, and then this case mouth first will drop. It is just like that. I mean, how cool is that? It's so simple, and it's so quick and so easy. You don't need to add, remove any parts, and it requires no tools. All right, so let's get this switched over to 308. All right, so for 308, anything above 223, I'm going to swap out the small rifle plate for the large rifle plate, and it really is this simple. You just swap it out just like that. And the reason why you need to adjust the speed between 9 o'clock for 223 and lower, and roughly 10 to 11 o'clock for anything over 223 like 308 and above, is the large rifle plate. See how big the spacing is between the slots in comparison to the small rifle plate? Every other has this little section where it makes the difference, and that's why when you're doing 223 or lower, you got to have the speed at 9 o'clock. All right, so I'm going to try my best to do this with the camera in front of me, but let's get this adjusted from 300 blackout to 308. Once again, this is where the EP integrations, EP twin annealer shines, is adjusts in seconds, so I'm going to add or remove any parts. And I have about 1/4 of an inch of the base or the main body past the face of the drum itself. And I'm going to get the back of this fence just in front of the shim plate. So somewhere's right about there. So that should be just about perfect. So let me clip you out of here. I'll show that to you here. So you can see I got roughly about 1/4 of an inch of the main body to where the shoulder starts, stick out past the face of the drum. And we're just going to quick test this. So this will probably nail somewhere in the low 30s probably. I guess it's somewhere probably right around there. So we're just going to test this quick, make sure it's functioning. So just like that, less than, what, 45 seconds, we're able to get that adjusted. All right, so we're going to clip our shuttle or drop tube back in. Now this is definitely where it needs to be adjusted. What you do is just manually drop one. You're going to notice that it gets hung up at the end of the shuttle itself. All you got to do is just simply adjust this up until it drops off, and maybe just adjust up just a smidge bit more, and that's about it. And this is where I'll just manually test this and make sure that it's functioning just right. So you can see that kind of got hung up. I'm going to adjust this up ever so slightly some more. Right side of the inside of the shuttle, just to the right of the drum. So let's keep on testing this, and right about there should be good to go. So I'm going to do a couple more pieces, and you can see that the end of the shuttle kind of holds it in place. So like I said, once you've done this a couple times, it's really, really simple. I think we should be good to go on that. Now, at least right here, you can see for 308, so right there on 308, saying using large rifle plate, and you're going to put it on the #1 slot. So the first slot there, we're going to get this adjusted right here. So let me get this adjusted where it was for 300 blackout over to 308. It's adjusted nice and tight. We got the large rifle plate. We should be good to go. Now, just a side note on this clutch, and obviously check out your directions, but you don't want this so tight that it can't spin if you get a jam, but you don't want it obviously so loose that it just doesn't spin at all. So make sure you check out those directions. Also, you need to get this adjusted. When you start getting to these larger casings, you just want to adjust this, you know, up ever so slightly for the larger cartridges. And we should be good to go. Just turn this on along with the annealer. And right now it's kind of feeding brass in there right now. So it'll take a little bit until it fills up all the slots. But this really makes me giggle every time I watch this thing run. It's just so fast and simple to set up. And it makes it just so slick. So I'll let this run for a little bit, at least for 308. Like I said, you need, at least for 308, you gotta have this set at roughly the 10 to 11 o'clock position. And you can really speed this thing up if you want. I mean, you could really speed it up. But usually I'll have it about the 10 to 11 o'clock position. It's just awesome. I love it. All right, so switching over to 3030 that has a distinct rim. So this can kind of be the bane of some annealers, because when they have a rim like that, they love to get hung up on their wheels. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And the trick with 3030 is with the fact that you can adjust this. You want to leave a little bit of a gap here for this distinctive rim. So this isn't going to be far off from 308, and I might have to adjust this out ever so slightly. So let me just adjust this out. So that about 1/4 of an inch of the body, once again, is past the face of the drum. And I'm going to adjust this so that there's a little bit of a gap here for the rim. I'm going to tighten all this down and get this so the back of the fence is just in front of the shim plate. So about right there. And I'm actually going to clip this out, set this off to the side. We're just going to test this out here for a little bit. So once again, 3030 with a distinctive rim, which is absolutely no problem for the EP20 annealer. Within less than a half a minute, 30 seconds or less, you're switched over. So that's probably going to be in the 35 range-ish area for annealing. So that should be good. So we're going to leave that. Once again, what we're going to do is we are going to clip this in, and we're going to manually feed this. So let me back this up here a little bit. All right, so we'll just feed one in, and you can see it got hung up here. So let me clip you out so you can see it's kind of hung up on there. So we're going to increase the height of this until that falls off, and maybe increase it just ever so slightly. So right there, so just a little bit more. So you're going to grab this piece, manually feed another. So it's still somewhat getting hung up on there. So I'm going to go up ever so slightly right there. So that should be good to go. So 1, 2. Also, the spinning drum will help suck the casing into the drum too. So we should be good to go on this. So let me drop this into the top. Should be pretty much the same as 308. So let's get this started. We'll get this plugged back in. So that's on. And I gotta lower this down here. It's probably about in the 35 range. So we're waiting for some to heat up here. And just like that. So about the 10 o'clock position. I'll let this run for a little bit. Just love proving points. See them feeding up here. You can see this one. See how that worked? Pretty cool, huh? So yeah, 30-30. So let's switch this over to 7mm. All right, so up next is 7mm mag. So just kind of proof points here. Show you that it is 7mm rem mag. So let's get this adjusted. So within seconds, we'll get this switched over. So once again, about 1/4 of an inch of the main body past the face of the drum. The brass stopper adjusted. At least with this Magnum belt bases, typically what I like to do is stop the brass stopper with a gap, just so the belt has a gap to ride in there. So a little bit of a gap for that belt. So you just stop that drum right there. Adjust the fence. So the back of the fence is just in front of the shim plate. So it'd probably be about right there. And just like that, it went from 30-30 to 7mm. So we'll test this for a little bit. So I'm going to zoom this out so you guys can see the whole show. Okay, so I think we're good to go there. And I'm going to plug this back in because I just dropped all that 30-30. Clip this in. And then I'm going to lower this down. At this point, you need this to drop out of the shuttle a little bit. This is where you're going to start raising it a little bit. And I'm going to physically put in a piece just like so. And I've adjusted this left to right. So I'm going to adjust this left to right so that the inside face of the shuttle is just past the outside of the drum. And let me clip you back in here. I'm purposely going to lower this way down. Lower this way down so you can see that that's obviously not going to work. So I'm going to purposely push it against the fence, and I'm going to raise this up until that drops off the end of the shuttle. Right there. And then I'm purposely going to raise it just about another 1/8 of an inch more. And this is where I'm just going to test it a little bit. So 1, 2, and you can see when the drum is spinning, it will help suck this in. See how that just dropped? So typically at that point, I would probably stop. You could probably raise it just a little bit more, but it's not necessary. Because like I said, once that drum's spinning, it helps suck it into the fence and the drum itself. So I feel confident that we're good to go there. So let me clip you guys out, and we're gonna just drop this in. And just like that, we are good to go. Now, before I start this on, the directions here, so Dylan directions, let me hunt down 7mm mag. So right about here, it's saying the number 1 slot. So I have it in the number 1 position. So it's pretty much completely open. So we're gonna turn this on, and this will be at the 10 to 11 o'clock position for the speed of the feeder. And right now it's just collecting the brass in those slots. It's just awesome. Once again, it just makes me giggle. It's just spectacular. You just gotta love it. It's all American made. Other than electronics, we do get those from China. It's hard to, not do that. But Wisconsin made in Washington State, made in Wisconsin. This is made in Wisconsin. I mean, it's just American ingenuity at its best. So if you want, you can really crank this up. I only have so many of these pieces. I don't really have a full bin here. Let me drop some more. If you want, you can really crank this up. At a certain point, you get it too fast, it just won't drop. So let me really crank this. You'll see that this just won't drop. Yeah, see, so it starts to double feed right there. So you definitely don't want that. So put this at about the roughly 10 to 11-ish area, and you should be good to go. So just absolutely love it. Let me flip this around so it's case mouth open first. So you'll see the rear end will drop, and it'll orientate it for you. So once again, why have a hopper when you can have a case feeder? All right, so let's get this switched over to 338 LAPUA, the absolute maximum of what this shuttle can handle. All right, so we got 50 pieces of 338 LAPUA. Let's get this adjusted. So we're gonna screw this in, and it looks like I've gone a little bit past, so about 1/4 of an inch of the main body. And then we're gonna adjust the back side of this fence so it's just in front of the shim plates. So it looks like we're good to go. And just like that, once again, what makes the EP 2.0 shine. Just like everything else, I'm gonna lower this down. And these big ones, usually I'll just start out with just laying it right in there. So you can see it's still hanging on there. I'm gonna adjust this up till it falls off. And these big ones, you really got to go a little bit further past. So about, 3/16 of an inch past of where it drops off. So this is where we're just going to test this out quick. So once again, the spinning drum will help suck it into the drum. So let me test this here manually. Just like that. But then, if I wasn't talking blabbering, I'd easily have this switched over in less than a minute. So let's get this dumped into the feeder itself. That's 50 pieces, my friend, of 338 LAPUA. Let's get this turned on. So you're gonna watch this slowly feed. This one here, we can keep at the 10 o'clock position. So here's our first one lining up. And just like that, the giggle factor kicks back in. And how cool is that? So I'm probably going to speed this up ever so slightly. Not much. About the 10 to 11 o'clock position. And once you've done this a few times, and you get the method of the madness, you're swapping over from cartridge to cartridge in literally less than a minute. It's so ultra quick. I'm going to purposely turn this one case mount first. You can kind of see that go past and then drop rear end, like so. Yeah, once again, giggle factor in full effect. And why have a hopper when you can have a case feeder? It's just awesome. Now, I have this approximately located where the brass will be annealed. And I know some of you might have the concern of having this directly above the flame. And the flame is definitely past it. And I can put my thumb here, and this is as low as it can go. So just to show you here, just adjust the fence out here. Say like I'm doing 2, 2, 3. And I can literally keep my finger here all day long and not get burned. So I'm not even remotely concerned with heat buildup here. If I did, I wouldn't be able to hold my finger here as long as I am. So I'm just, you know, I know someone's going to ask this question. So just to make sure some of you guys feel okay with this, I'm just showing you right now. Otherwise, my finger would be blistering right now. So, well, my friends, my business partner, Scott Peterson, and my name's Todd Elfers. Peterson and Elfers, that's where the EP integrations comes from. We've been working on this for quite some time now. And we've had this plan, especially with an elongated feet here on the annealer itself, to eventually get this on here. And I've been testing this thousands and thousands of pieces, and it is an absolute pleasure to use. Easy to get installed, easy to get set up and switch from cartridge to cartridge. You've seen it. I'm going to try not to edit that as much as I can. And I've been testing everything from 300 blackout to 338 LAPUA, rim or no rim. It just simply works. And I hope you guys really, really enjoy this. And by the time you see this video, it should be live on our website. And what you see for pictures on the website, it should be what is being shipped and delivered to your front doorstep. Just make sure you read those instructions. You might have to watch this video once or twice. But once you've used this a couple times, trust me, you're absolutely gonna love it. Well, hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, make sure you subscribe, like, and share, and I will see you guys in the next video.